Scraps design team. This is also for Off the Board, which is the month-long version of this series. It happens every July, and essentially it's off the board, but every day is a new Pinterest inspiration. So Off the Board, if you haven't caught that series before, is essentially a way for you to kind of go through your Pinterest boards, find all the things that you've been pinning. I know you're probably like me and a lot of other scrapbookers, and we tend to hoard pins in our Pinterest boards. This is your opportunity to kind of go through, take a look at what's there, find some inspiration from them. It doesn't have to be scrapbooking inspiration. It can be anything. It doesn't even have to be crafty. It could be home decor, or it could be food, or anything at all that you have in your boards that you feel is inspiring you to be creative and create a layout, create a project. That is what you're going to pick and then create with that. So I showed you my pin at the beginning of the video. It's those fun little I Spy jars. So essentially it's a jar. You can fill it with anything. People fill it with beads, or they fill it with rice, any of that kind of sensory stuff, beans, anything like that. And then you're going to pop little kind of, extra little goodies in there. So you could make them kind of part of a theme if you wanted, and do like I Spy with dinosaurs. And so you're going to put dinosaurs into that jar, and as the kids shake them, they have to try to find all the dinosaurs. Or you could do a party theme and put, fun little party trinkets and toys, like birthday party stuff, whatever you want to do. They're tons of fun. And just as I was flipping through Pinterest, I kind of came across that picture, and it reminded me of that paper right there, that rainbow paper that I created. And I thought it would be really fun to turn those into little I Spy shaker pockets, I guess you could say, kind of in the shape of the jars. So this piece of paper is something that I created when I was playing around with some inks, and I created an inspiration piece for the Scrap Shots challenge, the summer challenge that's happening. It runs for the next 2 months, from July all the way to the end of August. And essentially it's a color palette challenge. So this was the color palette, and I was kind of playing around with how I wanted to create the inspiration piece to sort of launch that challenge. Oh my goodness, words are not coming out of my mouth. Sorry. And so I did it twice because I was filming it, and I kind of wanted to capture some of the paints running. This was created with some Tim Holtz Distress Oxides and Distress inks. And so I made it twice. I didn't want to throw this one out. I didn't like it because I ended up ripping the strips. I kind of wanted to go for this really fun grungy look with some black paper popping out. There is a process video for this. If you haven't seen it yet, go and check it out, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But this one, I put some of the strips too close together, and I just didn't think it was going to work. And so I kind of kept it in my stash, and that's where this all kind of tied together. It was made relatively recently, and so when I saw those I Spy jars, I just knew that this would work really well, or at least I hoped it would work really well, and I think in the end it does. But yeah, that's sort of how all these elements came together. I didn't think that the paper was a bad background paper. It just, the strips weren't exactly how I wanted them to be spaced out. But for this particular layout, I think it works really good. The jars in the picture aren't all lined up perfectly, and so neither are my little strips here. And yeah, it turns out really good in the end. So not only am I pairing my Spiegel Mom Scraps design team layout with Off the Board, I'm also pairing it with Tuesdays in the Attic. So I pulled out some papers from my new How to Kill a Kit with Style kit. The kit is called Splash. That's the theme for this month. And so I have lots of fun summary papers that are all going to be used to document fun watery events that we do throughout the summer. So this one is going to be our splash park. I'm going to try to use the word splash as often as possible this month, and lots of water and blues and stuff like that, but also just really fun splashes of colors. So I pulled these all out. They're all Amy Tangerine papers, and that is what I cut down to make the measurements for my Freaky Fast formula from the scrap room. That's what we do with Tuesdays in the Attic. It's me and Jackie, and she went through and found all of the Freaky Fast formulas going back to the very beginning at the scrap room on their blog. And now we're just playing along. We're going to work our way through all of them. So essentially what you get is a formula to cut down your papers to different measurements, and then that's kind of it. Your job after that is to just take those papers, move them around on your background paper, and try to put them together in a way that comes up with a really nice design. So it's really fun because it's very open-ended. It doesn't tell you what kind of papers, what types of patterns, anything like that. You are free to pick anything you want from your stash. You cut them down to the right sizes and then just play and see how you can come up with a nice layout. So I went ahead and took those papers from Amy Tangerine and cut them down to the right sizes. It just happened to work out that even the largest size, which was 9 inches by 8 inches, doesn't entirely cover the paper, the 12 by 12 background paper. So I think that worked out kind of good because I could offset it slightly and still have all of my little strips of color showing with their little shaker pocket, I Spy pockets, I guess you could call them. And then I could still use all of the other measurements to kind of tuck in behind my picture and create lots of fun layers. So it worked out really good. I absolutely love how this layout came together. So I started by cutting out my little windows. I didn't want to cut them all out. I definitely didn't want to waste any of my sequins or anything like that. So I kept referring back to that largest piece of pattern paper to make sure that I was just cutting out enough that you get to see the sequins and other little goodies that I'm going to add in there. Then I went and grabbed some acetate. I just have a big package of that old, the acetate that you use on overhead projectors. I just have a big bunch of that. So that's what I grabbed. This would also work really well with just using some plastic from packaging or from a page protector, that kind of thing, because it is going into a page protector in my album. So it doesn't have to be super durable plastic, just nice and clear. Then I went ahead and used really good strong tape from Spiegel Mom Scraps to tape down that acetate. And then I used the giant Big Mama foam tape, also from Spiegel Mom Scraps, to go around all of my pockets. I made sure to go around each one individually, again, so that I'm not wasting any sequins. They're all going to stay in their own little spaces and not move around too much throughout the layout. So I did use a lot of the foam tape, but I don't do a lot of shaker pockets that are quite on this scale on a 12 by 12 paper. So I'm okay with sacrificing some of the foam tape for like a really awesome project, which is what this turned out to be. So I'm quite happy to do that. And then of course I had to fill in the extra space with some more foam tape just to make sure that when I'm putting it onto its backing, I'm not kind of squishing it. And at first, I wasn't sure if I was actually going to do this part, but I decided to go ahead and do it. I did cut down that background so that I could mat it on some black cardstock. I just really love the way the black and the white make those colors pop, but also the one strip down at the bottom, the green strip, was really close to the bottom and it left a bit of a gap up at the top. And so I figured I could just go ahead and cut that down and make everything look a little bit more even. And then I also have that matting, which just secures everything into place and gives a nice little border around the layout. So that all worked out in the end. And you can see I filled it up with all kinds of goodies. I used a lot of the June sequins from Spiegel Mom's Scraps. I also threw in a few extra little sequins here and there. I threw in some kind of glittery, sparkly sequins that I got from Temu and some flat back pearls that I got from Temu. I backed each of them with a different pattern paper. Those all just came out of my How to Kill a Kit with Style kit stash. So they were all just scraps, and I was essentially just trying to find papers that were either kind of fun and rainbowy or had the same colors as the strips that I have there. So I backed those. I added a few fun little pops of things. So there's some wood veneer in there. There's a couple of puffy stickers in there that if you shake them, you'll be able to find those elements. There's a couple little acrylic or kind of like clay pieces that were in this flower pack that I got. A couple of them have little happy faces on them. So you can kind of shake and find the little happy face characters. A lot of fun random things that I threw in there. They're all slightly different, but have, a few similar elements to them. So I wasn't trying to make each one totally different one from the next. I just wanted to spread out some of the colors, some of those fun little I Spy elements, and make each one kind of unique and fun, but still matching within the whole layout. So once I got all of that done and it was stuck down really well, I'm going to go ahead and take all of my layers that you see here from my Freaky Fast formula and kind of do the Tuesdays in the Attic edition of this layout. And so that's all these layers that are behind my picture. You can see my cute picture is of us playing at the splash park. And so I thought all these fun rainbows really work, all the bright, fun colors. That's that kind of splash of color. But then also I'm bringing in the splash from the fact that we're at the splash park. I'm literally going to use the word splash in my title. This was just so much fun to put together. I really enjoyed it. I am going to add a few extra little layers here with those puffy stickers. I think those are from Freckled Fawn. And they're also in my kit, and they're kind of a mishmash of things. They say some things like thanks and congratulations and happy birthday, and then other things like together and family and that kind of stuff. So I picked out some of the ones that I think kind of work. The colors kind of match the colors that you see in the strips of paper. And then I have a few of these little stickers. Again, I'm just looking for the similar colors, and I'm going to do a couple little clusters of those stickers just to add some different textures, different shapes, that kind of thing, because I'm really not going to add a whole bunch of other embellishments. There's so much going on with the sequins. I don't think it really needs extra embellishments, but it's kind of nice to have some fun. And these little stickers also offer a lot of white space, so some little spaces to maybe do some journaling, or just give your eye a bit of a break from all of those patterns in my layers of paper. So that's kind of where my thought process was with all of that. It also broke up some of that largest piece of paper because it is so much larger than the other pieces that I cut up. So I wanted to kind of break that up a little bit. So a method to my madness. I think it turned out really good. And then I went through my enamel dots, and I just decided to go ahead and find enamel dots that basically mostly matched those 5 colors in my strips of paper. They're not quite the same, and I'm totally okay with that because, it adds a little bit of contrast and fun, but I wanted to get fairly close, and I didn't want to add more sequins. Normally, that is not something you would hear me say. Sequins is something I will always add more of, but there's just so much in those shaker pockets, and I wanted to make sure that those really stood out and that you didn't really see sequins anywhere else on the page, because I want your eye to be drawn to those fun little I Spy pockets. So again, just more kind of like thinking about how I want my story of my layout to be told. So then I went ahead and added my title. It says Splash Park. Those are actually from Dollarama and they're so much fun. The blue ones look like water. So that's what I decided to go for. And then a splash of some gold and some blue shimmer mists. And that is it. That is my layout for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you for subscribing. I also really appreciate that. And I will be back again soon. So thanks so much. Until next time, happy scrapping.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Give me, what button? Tell my channel.